vision is big. It's to create a world where people feel crazy confident about their messiest moments. If you know that you want to go to retail, you want to build a product that can stand out on shelf, because that's where you really capture the customer. Okay. You think of Period Care, we want you to think of Flo.
Well, Susan, welcome to the Small Business Sessions podcast. Thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
So we're here to talk about Here We Flo, which is your eco-friendly period care and personal wellness products brand. So let's get started on hearing your story. So take me back to where it all began, because I know you worked for one of George Soros's foundation. That's what you were doing before. It's a very different experience to what you do now.
Yes, had nothing to do with products or tampons or anything like that. While I was working at the foundation and sort of had the interest, anything corporate is sort of a dirty word in the nonprofit space. But I'm like, we live in a capitalist society. I want to learn a bit more about business. So I applied to this program at the London School of Economics. So I came there on the first day. I met Tara and we fell in best friend love. A week and a half later, after doing all these case studies and things, we were going to the toilets together, as one does. I said to her, like, forget the PayPal mafia. Let's start the feminist mafia. Let's start a business together. And because she is a raging hippie hipster from California, she was like, absolutely, let's do it. What's our moneymaker going to be? And she couldn't find organic tampons very easily anywhere. And so it started this whole conversation about sort of what was in products. What you've seen now, there's been several studies on pesticides and other things found in tampons. And so that was really what we wanted to do, was create sort of like a sustainable swap, a product that worked as well as the products we grew up using, but were made with plant-based materials like organic cotton and organic bamboo. And then from a sort of tone of voice, brand tone of voice, we wanted to be funny, feminist, and fair. So really challenging the stigma that surrounded these things, because that's part of why we hadn't spoken about it before, is because it just tends to be such a stigmatized topic. So we then left the bathroom with this very clear sort of like product and,
so was
and
that
brand.
Was that all discussed in there?
That was discussed in the
wow.
we were in there for a little while. We may or may not have been skipping a class. And then, much to the chagrin of our 17 male classmates, every presentation that we had was around pads and tampons and really sort of fine-tuning what this business might look like. And at the end of the program, Tara did her dissertation on the business case. And then after a couple years, we got the sort of like courage to get it started with a Kickstarter program and raised £14,000 in pre-sales.
But before, so that you said you had no experience in products, and obviously running a product business is, you got to make the product, and if you've got no experience, that's tough. So what did you do, once you decided this is what you're going to do? How did you go about doing the product side of it? And
lots of research, lots of writing. So Tara went and looked on the FDA registry, because we had this vision of having this mass market brand that would be everywhere that all the conventional products were sold. And so being FDA registered would allow us to sell in the States one day. And just actually ringing up all these different manufacturers and asking for samples. And Tara is one of the most persistent people you could ever meet. So she was just, she's been like our commercial lead. And really getting the samples and seeing what we liked and what we didn't like, and sort of selecting a manufacturer. And then when she was doing her dissertation, we did focus groups with other students that were at the LSE and got them to try products and give us feedback. So it was really very much sort of trial and error. And early on, sort of you get the product that they make. But as the business continued to grow and we developed that relationship, then we got them to swap into using more sustainable products. And so that's really our aim. We say we're dark green on the inside, light green on the outside, really wanting to always green innovate, really making sure that the products work really well, because that's so important, but also having that material innovation to make it more and more plant-based.
Did the crowdfund sort of fund that? Is that what?
Yeah, so for the first year, I would say, because we had 6,000 ice cream tubs of tampons,
right,
and we were just selling them into our local shops in Hackney and Islington,
right,
and figuring out what the heck it was that we were doing. They're like, oh, I can have a receipt. Yeah, sure. Just slap a Flo sticker on a piece of paper and just write it out.
Right.
I have this real distinct memory. I remember we got paid in cash. and Tara was RBS was our bank at the time, and was trying to figure out how she could deposit coins into the
Oh
thing.
wow,
And
you
I'm
got paid in coins as well. That's proper.
so
That's like a proper small business.
it
just
was very
cash in hand.
early days.
Yeah, you did a Kickstarter, didn't you? Was it
Yeah.
14,000 that you raised? So do you want to talk a bit about that? It's come up a lot on this show, and a lot of people that watch are very interested in crowdfunding and how you make it work. So do you want to sort of talk through and what your advice would be?
Yeah, I mean, going back to it was we did not know what we were doing. It was so nerve-wracking, and we did meet our goal in the end. But since doing that and talking to other entrepreneurs, the hack is before you put it live, you should have raised and have pledges for at least a third of the amount that you want to raise. We did not do that. So we put it live. Like, we got like our parents and our friends to contribute, other people who believed in the idea, obviously, but it was a bit of a nail biter, I think, down to like a day or two before the 30-day deadline. Because if you don't raise it by the deadline, then you don't get any of the funding. And so I always recommend that to other entrepreneurs. I'm like, you need to secure the funding beforehand. And if there's something psychological for people where it's like, it's gone live and like 3 hours later, it's 50% funded. It's like, yeah, I want to get behind that. So
exactly.
Yeah.
People, well, it's follow the crowd, isn't it? That's kind of the. Do you want to talk a bit about what you did though in your campaign pitch? You know, the video is like super important.
Yeah.
You know, you've got a very strong brand, and you've got some, like you said, the funny element.
Yeah.
So did you reflect that immediately? Did you want to sort of communicate that in your pitch?
Yeah. I mean, Tara wrote the script, and I think I had like 20 minutes to learn it. And I've gotten much more comfortable in front of like cameras and panels and stuff now, but I'm like properly introverted. And I was just like, what do you mean I need to be in this video? She's like, we're doing this business together. You have to do it. So it was a bit like a skit, and she was like in the bathroom for part of it. We were in a friend's flat in Hackney, actually, where we filmed it. They had like a very nice flat. And so it had the sort of like comedic elements to it, and just Tara and I together are a particular vibe.
Right.
But then it sort of like spoke about our desire to have charity partners as part of it, because just sort of leaning into my background and us just having similar values, wanted to make sure that it was a give back. And that was sort of the point of the feminist mafia thing, was having a business that could be commercially successful but also sort of hold in the same regard community and the planet. And so that's really our aim, is to become a massive success story, but that also is able to care for planet and community in the same way. And so, so it just sort of like told that story and what our ambition was. But it's a bit cringe, and we don't want to. I'm sure if you scour the internet, you could probably find it again. But Tara would love to have that deleted at this point.
We'll see if we can find it. Have a look, see if we can find it. It'll be on YouTube. If you're watching this on YouTube, you won't be able to find it. So once you got that money, you got the 14K. What did you do with it?
Yeah, so that's part of what you have to do in the video, is say what you would do with it. So like the largest part of it was to go for actually manufacturing the products, but there was like legal and registration fees. There were sort of like very small marketing bits, but and what else? And then bits for like shipping, etc., just sort of like logistical needs. But it was, since the beginning, it was really putting all of the money like back into the business at that point, because neither one of us were paid.
Right.
And I think at that point, Tara was the first to sort of work on it full time, but for a while she was like working as a barista in a local coffee shop, and then nannying a couple days a week. So because she knew if she went and got another full-time job, like she'd never be able to focus on it. And then I was able to support. I was really always the back-end founder. So I've been the transient founder. So I was the COO originally, sort of dealing with all the back office bits. And then when we hired a professional COO, our dear Mary, then I was chief people officer. It was at the point where we were ready to sort of like scale and build teams. So I set up our benefits, our recruitment process, culture, all of that. And my background was at the foundation. After I graduated, I did my dissertation on diversity and inclusion.
Right.
And so I was DEI director. And the experience there of trying to sort of like shift culture that was already existing by default really made Tara and I be intentional about designing the culture of Here We Flo. And so it was getting all that set up. And then once that was done, we had a meeting where everyone in the room except for me knew that I was going to leave being in charge of the marketing department.
Wow.
And I'm like, marketing is an actual technical profession of which I have no training in. And they're like, that's very nice. You've built a brand. And
You've
this
done
is your
everything.
this is
You
your
might as well
new
do. You got to
this
do
is
the
your new
full
title.
set. You
So
got to do all the C jobs.
yeah. So it's like, so then lots of imposter syndrome, but I now can say confidently I'm 2.5 years into it. And like, yeah, I am a marketing professional.
Right. So that's still your current
That
job.
is still my current role. And the role I'll have, I think, for the foreseeable.
Right.
But yeah, it's really exciting to do that.
When you got the products made and put them out there, how was it? Just initially you were selling? Was it just selling on your own website? Is that how you first got out?
Yeah,
Or did you first go in straight into retail?
So that was a benefit of sort of like doing the dissertation. Is originally this was like 10, 11 years ago. So Dollar Shave Club was all the rage, and we're like, periods are cyclical. Like D2C should really work really well for this, but when you spoke to people that had periods, they don't know when it's coming. They have too much product. They don't have enough product. They're running out to get it at the off license, and so we realized it's really a habit and convenience driven product. And so when we would explain that to our male investors, because everyone's always like D2C, and there's lots of great things about D2C, right? You get amazing data. You get sort of the payment cycle is very short, but I said, we say, think about it as a man, how you would buy soap. You don't necessarily want a soap subscription, right? It's like if you're going to run out of soap at the end of the week, you'd put it in your weekly shop. If you're going to run out in 2 days, you might order it on Amazon Prime. And if you're like, oh, I'm out of soap, you're going to run to your local and get it. And that's exactly the way that people shop for period care. And so we knew this was going to be a really retail focused business. COVID sort of like came around and shifted consumer behavior sort of like by necessity during that period, because obviously retail market shut down after COVID, which is just after we raised our first like proper seed round and hired our first 2 employees. We're like, okay, this is fun.
Pandemic wasn't in the plan in that bathroom, was it?
No, no, or any macroeconomic crisis
exactly.
that has come since. But we've gotten really good at pivoting, and we're very resilient. But yeah, so we've always been omni-channel, but the focus was really around retail. So we had a very interesting Wix website that we made ourselves for D2C originally, but we a lot of it was just going to those local shops, and it was really great because you got to speak to the owners and Tara's local off license. The owner was like, you help me unload these avocados and I'll tell you about like point of sale and how I order from distributors.
Right.
So we were literally learning because as I said, like Tara's background, she studied economics in uni, did a bit of finance and hated it, and then was an independent musical. So she had deals in Germany and Japan and was like a songwriter and singer. And then, I was in nonprofit. Like grant,
sold stuff.
Grant making. So it was a learning curve for both of us, but people were really generous. And I think when they believe in the vision of what you're doing and see what you're doing as really well intentioned, they're happy to give you the time of day. And so we just learned as we went.
Big thanks to Vodafone Business for sponsoring this podcast as part of our Business.Connected campaign, which helps small businesses tap into the power of digital connectivity. With Business.Connected, get support on the technologies and digital business areas that can help you and your business work smarter. Grow online with expert guidance, peer insights, digital skills training, and smart connectivity solutions. To learn more, head to enterprisenation.com/businessconnected. So, but you're now in Sainsbury's, Boots, Tesco, Whole Foods.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing you didn't just rock up at Sainsbury's and help them load avocados. So do you want to? Maybe you did.
No, we're slightly different when you get to that level.
But do you want to? Again, that's a super common question. Like, how do I get into retail? And once I've done one, how do I get into more? And then managing the big retailer relationships. Did you want to talk about how you did it and maybe your advice for others?
So first thing is being really clear that your intention is to get there and hiring for that. So we knew that we wanted to be in retail, and we sort of invested ahead of the curve to have so Mary, our COO, I was at New Look for over a decade, built the international business from 0 to 300 million, the team from 0 to 80 people. So I had that experience of like scaling and really into retail, understanding retail cycles, all of that. Our commercial director, Caroline, is ex-Method and L'Oreal. And again, really experienced in dealing with all these retailers and having that experience on both sides of the pond. And so it's really hiring for those roles that understand how retail works, because it doesn't really work the way you think it does. And if you get a listing now, that's not going to go live until next June, probably. And so the cycles are quite long. The payment cycles are much longer. So you really need to plan. And then when it even comes to the product, if you're a direct-to-consumer business, right, when you sell a product, it's set on the website and you have the background and all the context that you're able to set it. Very different experience of being on the shelf. And so that was actually a benefit for when we were designing our products. The tampons come in an ice cream tub, and we're always asked like why that is. Part of it is an inside joke. Even though Tara was vegan at the time and lactose intolerant, she always craved ice cream at the time. And this was before Ben and Jerry's had their vegan options over here. So she'd just eat it and suffer, basically. Right. And so I'm like, cool. Put the tampon samples in the ice cream tub. Like, it might look really cool. And she's like, I think that's going to look terrible, but I'll take one for the team and finish my pint. And then it looked amazing. But I also said to her, like, we're not going to be able to afford a billboard for a very long time. And we need to create one on the shelf. And it's still, when we had our meeting with our original Tesco buyer, he called it a trolley magnet. And in most of the market sort of shops pads and liners, are 70 to 80%. But when you're walking down the aisle at Tesco, you're like, what is ice cream doing in the period care aisle? Yeah. And so it's the thing that stops people, even though they're more likely to buy pads or liners. And if we had designed sort of what we thought initially that would sit in a website, might be like calmer colors that then when you put it on shelf just blends into the background. So it's like, if you know that you want to go to retail, even if you are D2C originally, you want to build a product that can stand out on shelf, because that's where you really capture the customer.
That's such a good tip. A billboard on the shelf, a trolley magnet. I love that. Love that tip. So who was your first big one then? Who did you go into first?
So our first national account was WH Smith Travel. Actually, we met, and it was an ex-buyer from Tesco, saw it and said, I know you guys are going to be huge. You're going to be in all the grocers. And I want to say that I listed you first. So she put us into 100 of the travel shops, which it was amazing, because you get so much footfall.
Yeah, travel.
With that. And then, but the following year, when we got the Boots account, was when we were like, we're a real business now. And so that's when we raised seed funding and hired those employees. But then a month later, so we closed that round on Valentine's Day of 2020. Right. And we all know what happened a few weeks later. Yes. And the queue on boots.com was like 28,000 people or whatever. It was mad. Yeah. But wow. It was insane. And so then it was good that we had sort of like D2C set up and that we were on Amazon. I think our sales went to like from 0 to 7,000 pounds within like a month or two period during that time, because everyone just they were forced to shop online because we were all stuck in our houses indefinitely for as far as we knew.
Yeah. So I guess you were a COVID business, so I guess
that
period must have been wild. But then so when it obviously stopped and we went back to, well, sort of as normal as we've become, I suppose, but back to, how did you manage, what did you see as sort of change? Because now it was about the retail stores again.
Yeah, it was almost like a reset with, I think at that point we were in Holland and Barrett as well. And we were online with Ocado. And so it was sort of a reset of the account and then getting the stock and all of that back in. What happened during that period also is we got pulled into the States because thanks to a certain president, to which I will not name, COVID wasn't a real thing. You could just cure it with bleach or whatever, right? And so we got pulled into on the Pacific West Coast. And ended up in 600 or 700 doors in sort of like small to medium sized grocers there. set up a warehouse in Portland.
Wow.
And that came with its own set of learning curves and things, but it did sort of create a boon for the business while we figured out what was happening in the UK market. Now I think it's, retail opened back up and people were quite eager for that. So that was good. And we just sort of like plugged away with the same set of stores. I think Superdrug came on a couple of years later. But yeah, it's only last year that we launched with the grocers. So that was really just continuing to just build rate of sale, get a new product in here and there, but really continuing to build that base.
Amazing. What would your advice be to others to manage that relationship with the big guys? Because, it's like you said, it's payment terms, margins, it's not it's not like you're in Tesco, great, it's
That's just the first step. You have to sell or you'll be out again. So I think it's really important for us. What's been helpful is really around point of sale. And that's why I said coming back, having someone on your team that really knows retail, because it's also about the relationship management and making sure you have regular touch points with your buyers, that you're having regular touch points with the supply team, because that's so key. And it's understanding how their supply system works as well, right? For some suppliers, they have particular windows that you need to deliver into. When we were smaller, we had to work with a consolidator for Ocado. So and it's not something that you would sort of know automatically. So it's really setting up those initial meetings to understand how things work. And there's lots of fees that are associated if you miss those things as well, which can be like quite expensive for a small business too. So yeah, I say like ask for the meeting, make sure you have a clear understanding of how things work. And that was actually really brilliant. When we listed with Tesco, they put us on their accelerator program. We had these in-person days, which like the sort of peer networking was really great because you met the other brands that were on it. But they would bring in people from all the different sections of Tesco to give you an overview on how things work and what to expect, which was really helpful. Because each one sort of has their own systems of how they do things, and you just want to understand that and be able to operate to that so you can run things as efficiently as possible. Yeah.
And did you find, as I guess, once you're in one or two, they will come into you, or were you going to them directly?
How did it go? So we were pursuing Tesco for a while. And part of it was what happened during COVID is there was a lot of buyer turnover, was quite high. And so you might have a really good conversation and then you send a follow-up email and you get an out of office saying that person's no longer there and the role's not fulfilled yet. So that was part of it, was just continuing to have conversations with different folks until there was a buyer in place and we were able to move that conversation forward. But at that point, because we'd been growing so well in the sort of like high street retailers, Boots and Superdrug and all of those, we were now showing up in the IRI data, which sort of talks about your sales out. And so that even if you're the one that asked for the meeting, the reason you get the meeting will be because they're able to see that performance. So that it is important to continue to focus and do as much as you can in the retailers where you are currently. And then Amazon for us was just a great place to capture demand where we didn't have the distribution in other places. And now we're the number 2 brand behind the biggest conventional product on Amazon.
Oh, really? Wow. That's amazing.
So, yeah.
Wow, that's good.
Yeah.
Why do you think? How have you done that? I mean, Amazon is another like tough.
I'm sure it's because we've overinvested, just from lack of knowledge. Because when our head of UK sales came in, she was like, "What are these terms?" and like just negotiated masterfully. But it's so you don't know what you don't know, but just continuing to move forward, having conversation, asking questions, and really when you're able to hire for those skills of people that are really experienced, and they'll come in and show you. So I think that's what Tara and I have done really well. We don't have ego about what we don't know, and we've really hired for our weaknesses, and it's really paid off in spades.
Yeah, that is a good tip. You've mentioned like investment. Obviously, you need investment for that, and you've got like you've got advisors, investors in Grays, Charlotte Tilbury, Unilever, M&S, L'Oreal, all these mega names, like amazing brands come on board. So what have you? Do you want to talk a bit about your funding and again some advice to others on
Yeah.
that?
So how have we done this? We
A few minutes, sum it up. Amy. How
yeah,
have you
no,
done
I mean, it's really, I think it's the strength of a compelling idea and being clear about who you are, right? So we show up. I'm always in pink. We're funny, feminist, and fierce business. I remember one of our early investors, because I started having, as we've been building this business, Tara and I have 5 kids between the two of us.
Right.
Okay, because we didn't have enough to do. So let's throw some babies in the mix. And so I had my first sort of in the second year of the business. And so I was showing up to investor meetings and I was breastfeeding in the meetings. Like, if you can't deal with that, then this is probably not the company for you, because we are legitimately a feminist company.
Yeah.
And so that probably turned some people off, but it has meant that the investors that we do have really are invested not only in the idea, but also in Tara and I. And I think good investors understanding, if you're investing in startups, you're really investing in the founders more so than any particular idea, because who knows what will happen. You might have to pivot the business completely, but it's trusting the people that you're investing in. They'll make the right decisions. And so it's just been sort of word of mouth. So the first couple investors, I think Tara wanted to chat to folks from the Grays team around understanding D2C and if there was something to do there. And they didn't want to talk about that at all. They were like, tell me about the retail business, tell me about the business. And at the end of the meeting, he was like, oh, I'd like to invest. And she's like, oh, we're not raising. I was trying to understand. And then a few days later, another person was introduced to talk about like innovation and green tech. And then he was like, oh, I know that guy. That's my mate. I'm going to tell him to invest. I'm going to invest too. And I was like, okay, guess we're racing around. Like, what's happening?
Wow.
And I can only say it's obviously we had the benefit of like meeting in business school and having the space and access to research and all these things to build a really compelling case. But I think, yeah, people want to invest in good ideas ultimately. That's not to say that it's been easy. I think it's been much more challenging on the institutional front, but we've had quite a lot of success with angels. And I think we always take the time to sit and sort of meet with them, understanding what it is that they want, how they invest. Because some people sort of treat investments as charity and they just want to invest in businesses that they really believe in. They're not looking to get a return on it necessarily. Some people are very much by the numbers, like PE minded. You need to hit your numbers to and other people are just like, they really care about sustainability. They really care about something else. And I think understanding why and how they invest is really helpful for how you tailor your pitch and how you're able to engage with them. And then also, especially when you're in the position of seeking money, it doesn't always feel comfortable to do this, but think about what it is that you want from them, because more than anything, people love to feel useful. And so knowing what you want from them more so than just their money is also a way to, it's developing a relationship. It's not just a sort of give and take thing. And in general, across the business, that's been really helpful for us. We're really good at that relationship building.
You're also a B Corp.
Yes.
Which is another like quite hard thing to do, because I know I've spoken to quite a few B Corp, and it's, that's not easy. It's not just filling a form.
It's a process. Yeah.
Obviously, being a sustainable brand, I guess, was that important to you? Because B Corps are the name is increasingly recognised by consumers, isn't it? As they're looking for that, I guess. Yeah. So I guess, was that an important thing you wanted to do?
Yeah, absolutely. It was a way to sort of like credential our intentions from the beginning. Because like I said, this Feminist Mafia was about creating a business that cared about planet, people, and sort of commercial success, and that's exactly what B Corp's all about. And so it was a matter of going through that process, sort of like forced us to document a lot of the things that we were doing automatically. And obviously, when we applied, I think we were maybe a team of 10. We're 27 now, so it's and it was a year-long process because there were quite a few delays during COVID. It was like quite a backlog. But I was glad that we felt good that it was like a rigorous process. It should be. And that's what makes the sort of like certification mean something. But it was important to us because it's a way of sort of like signifying our values and what we want to do in one word or one badge. Yeah.
So on this series, we're asking Enterprise Nation members and the community to submit questions, and we've had one for you from Louise Chandler from Soundbite Media. Thanks, Louise, who submitted a couple for this season. Submitted some great questions. She asked, what has been the hardest thing, biggest challenge about changing opinions and perspectives about periods and women's health?
The hardest thing, I guess, just knowing that it's going to take time to change opinions. It's a bit like changing culture. So as a D&I director, it's like people generally don't want to pay attention to culture until there's some kind of problem. But you do have culture either by default or design. And I think about the sort of like societal norms in the same way. And we're trying to change norms that have been there for like hundreds of years at this point. So you just have to continue in the face of it and not take the pushback that you get personally. Like we just launched as Back of Short sponsor with the Chelsea Women's Football Club.
Okay.
And we launched with a stunt where some of the players came out in practice with a like simulated blood patch on the back of their shorts.
I've seen that. Yeah.
And this is important because regulation says if you get blood on your shorts, you have to change it immediately. But if you play really hard and you get a cut on your eyebrow or whatever, that's seen as something that's celebrated and your commitment to the game. It's like playing on your period isn't easy, but it's this thing that we can't talk about or really recognize. And so it was just calling out that stigma and that shame. And it's important for young female athletes especially, because there's lots of statistics that say between 1 in 2 or even 85% of girls drop out of sport when they get their periods, and there is this real discomfort and sort of like shame that is around that, and it's cheating them of this incredible experience because I don't know if you played team sports. Well, I played football when I was younger, from age 8 to 14, and there's so many intangible skills and sort of experiences that you gain from that experience, and it's just being done because they feel a bit awkward or they don't feel like they can talk to their male coach about needing products or whatever it might be. And so it's really powerful to see these amazing women that have won every trophy available to win are saying, Niamh Charles shared that she started her period on the day of the Euro final, and they went on to win that. Like, that's incredible for someone to know, and it's really inspiring. So we got lots of comments on some of the press pieces. It's like, is this even a problem? No, you're making an issue that's not an issue. And I'm like, sir, you don't have a period, so who are you to speak on? I was going to say, it probably
was, wasn't it?
Yeah. yeah, absolutely. So it's just continuing to just take those things with a grain of salt and just keep pushing forward, because we know the change is being made slowly but surely.
Amazing. So, Louise, thanks for that. That was a great question with a great answer. So just finally, what's the vision then? Where do you hope we'll be? So if we were sat here in 10 years' time,
yeah,
where do you hope the business has got to?
The vision is big. It's to create a world where people feel crazy confident about their messiest moments. Your first feeling that you have, whether you have a period leak or a bladder leak, we also make sexual wellness products, any of those things, is not shame, but sort of like laughter. It's a shared human experience. And sort of commercially, we want to continue to build the business, be a household name in the UK. So in the same way that when you think of orange juice, you think of Innocent. If you think of period care, we want you to think of Flo. And just so that everyone has access and that option to have sustainable period care.
Amazing. Susan, thank you so much. I've loved this conversation. Thank you for joining me on the Small Business Sessions. Thank you.
Bye.
You've been watching Enterprise Nation's Small Business Sessions podcast, powered by Vodafone Business as part of our Business.Connected campaign. For free digital skills training, head to enterprisenation.com/businessconnected or search Business.Connected. Don't forget to like the video, share it, and subscribe to our channel. We'll see you next time.